If you ever get passed up by somebody on a promotion and that person's not as qualified as you to get the promotion, but they get it, they probably sold themselves better for that position than you did. The other person was better at selling their idea than you. This whole sales thing goes in many different ways.
What would you say about a person's skill sets? I mean, when you think, what carries you into the future? It's not your college degree, but what skills do you have, right?
Yeah, it's funny you talk about sales, and I'm thinking about this whole thing with sales. When I got out of the military, I knew how to work hard. I didn't have a problem working hard. That was not tough for me. I learned that from the military, just like yourself, having served in the Marines. And my dad was a worker. He ran a 99-cent store in Inglewood, and he's always been a worker. So I got the work part, but the sales side I didn't have. I started working at Bally Total Fitness, and I learned how to sell. I was coached by a guy named Cisco. He was my manager at Bally's. He sent me to Fox Hills Mall because I couldn't sell memberships at the gym. And he says, before you give up sales, I want you to go try to sell memberships at the mall. I said, Cisco, I can't sell memberships at the gym. You want me to sell it at the mall? He said, yes. I went to Fox Hills Mall. First day, I was standing behind the booth. I was so afraid to talk to anybody and engage. And the next thing you know, I came to the side of the booth because it was these two other guys, and I came in front of the booth, and one girl came in, bought the first membership from me, $75 down, $32. I remember till today, this was in '99. And I called Cisco. I said, Cisco, somebody bought a contract from me. He says, you gotta be kidding. I said, no. So then I sold second, third, fourth, and I became rookie of the month. I became rookie of the quarter, then I became rookie of the year. And then I saw the world from a completely different perspective once you learn how to sell, because it's almost a skill set of freedom. Whether, if you ever see the girl, the hot girl in town who dates a guy that's maybe a 5 or a 6 and she's an 8 or a 9, and you're wondering, how the hell does she end up with them? There's a very high likelihood the guy's a great salesperson, okay? If you ever get passed up by somebody on a promotion and that person's not as qualified as you to get the promotion, but they get it, they probably sold themselves better for that position than you did. If you ever notice in a family setting where the time comes where somebody has to make a decision for the family's future and your idea is better than another person's idea, the other person was better at selling their idea than you. This whole sales thing goes in many different ways. And today, I wrote a list of things while you were talking here about skill set. My kids, when they come up to me, they want to ask me for something. Say, Dad, I want to go to movies. I want to go to a restaurant. I said, sell me why. Not tell me why, sell me why. And they'll say, well, I think we got to go there because, I said, tell me why. And then, well, because of this, because of that. And then many times they'll come and they'll say, Dad, we want to go to, in the ocean this week with the boat. I'm like, let's negotiate a deal. Tell me why you deserve to go there. Well, do you remember last week when you asked to do this, we did this? Do you remember last week? And what if we do this and what if we do this? So I think the skill set of selling, negotiation, reading people, intuition is probably some of the most important skill sets, because you are right. I think they are going to try to impose their power and force to take away more freedom if you allow it to. But if the right people stay a little paranoid and they read them a little bit better and you have some intuition to know that nothing's more important than your freedom, if we fight back, I don't think they'll be successful.
That's correct. And then the saying we have at Rich Dad is sales equals income. And so I meet so many people who say, well, I can't afford this, I can't afford that, I can't afford to buy real estate, I can't afford to buy Bitcoin, I can't afford to buy. Well, the reason you can't afford to buy something is because you can't sell. And sales equals income. So back in 1974, my dad wanted me to go to the University of Hawaii and get my PhD. And I said, no, or he wanted to fly for the airlines because he was a pilot. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to learn how to sell. And he was upset. He says, salesmen are crooks, they're con artists. It's not a very honorable profession. But that's why he was poor. So many PhD types, academic types, they think they're above the capitalist process. They think their PhD entitles them to the better life. But if you go for your PhD, you really don't have the skill sets to be in the capitalist world. Like when my father, bless his heart, he ran for lieutenant governor against his boss, the governor. as a Republican in the People's Republic of Hawaii. Hawaii's 100% communist. And so he ran as a Republican and he lost. And the governor said to him, "You'll never work in this state again." So the power the governor had over my dad was his job. And the hardest thing for a school teacher, Patrick, is as a capitalist, you really don't need a school teacher. You need a salesman. And my father just couldn't sell. He wouldn't, he just kept holding up his PhD. I have a PhD, but he couldn't sell.
Wow.
And you know what I mean? And I saw that. And that's when my rich dad, who had no education at all, said, "You better learn how to sell pretty quickly." So I was at your birthday party and I saw your team, both men and women, what they have is confidence. And that confidence, ability to sell, to communicate and all that, that'll carry them into the future. And what's going to happen is as the economy worsens and they keep stealing our freedoms, they're going to have the income via which you take advantage of real estate, of whatever Bitcoin, whatever they want to invest in. But if you can't sell, remember, sales equals income. And if you can't sell, you don't have income. I mean, is that direct a process? But when I sat down with my poor dad, he just couldn't hear it. He said, salesmen are crooks. They deceive people, they cheat people and all this. But that's what prevented him from getting ahead. Have you seen people like that?
Oh, tremendous. I mean, my dad, I mean, he was a worker, but, he was always stuck with where he was at. My family with where they were at. But, the biggest thing listening to the story of your father is your dad wasn't afraid to go up. So maybe he wasn't a good salesman. Maybe he wasn't an entrepreneur, but the guy definitely had courage to go up against his former boss as a governor. And that courage was definitely passed down to his son. With the courage you got to do what you do in the books you write and the buttons you push and the predictions you make and the controversy and the opposition you face. You piss a lot of people off with some of the things that you talk about, but you're comfortable doing that because you got the right genes.